Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Hey, Con, I was working with this guy in London recently, and, we've got a London forum coming up, and the title of his presentation is pretty interesting, and the title is Don't Make It Hard for People to Give You Money.
Huh.
And I kind of thought about that, about literally the role of what a great agent really does. It's you got to make it really easy for people.
Especially today, mate.
Yeah.
Completely agree, yeah.
So tell us a bit about that, because one of the conversations is to really think that, everyone's looking for innovation and creativity and, things were going to get easier when it got digital, and sometimes it gets harder and it's clunkier, and, sure, there's a whole range of things that we can go to do, but how do you go to reduce consumer friction?
Well, think about the experience. Mm-hmm. Think about the best experiences that you've had either traveling or at a hotel or at a restaurant or buying something online. Think about Amazon. Mm-hmm. You know that one-click button that they've got?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Everyone listening, have you been on Amazon? It is phenomenal.
It's been around for a while, mate.
No, I just found it. You buy stuff, Josh, and it comes anyway.
Yes.
So think about how they've removed all the friction, all the complexity of just being able to do a very simple transaction. Mm-hmm. So for me, making it easy for someone to list with you or lease with you or rent from you or buy from you is that's the game.
Or even to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Josh.
Come on,
but think about it, right? So I used to work with an agent who will remain nameless.
Yeah.
And he had a habit because of his anxiety of he didn't want to have to lie to people about price guides.
Yeah.
So he put a price guide on everything.
All right.
And then when people came through the open home, they'd say, how much is the house? And he'd say 1 to 1.1.
Yeah.
And they'd say, okay, but what do they really want?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, well, I've got my comparables on display that I gave to the owner, and I've also got my agency agreement on display with the commission whited out saying 1 to 1.1. Now, when it got to auction, he would do the registrations, and as he was registering, hey, Josh, just so you know, the reserve's 1.1. Hey, Con, just so you know, the reserve's 1.1. Guess what the opening bid was? 1.1. Now, I'm not saying that that's the best way to go about it, but imagine being radically transparent and making it easy for people with building and pest reports and strata reports and, whatever you've got in terms of light rail, metro, finance, whatever it might be. That is actually the game. That's how you win.
So interesting about reducing consumer friction means that you've actually got to be a consumer first to know what a consumer goes through.
Sure.
And so this is kind of interesting about thinking about how you got to design experiences rather than just them happening accidentally. So, when you think about, okay, well, if I'm going to be a really good quality agent, I've got to maybe go and try and buy a property and see what it's like. I've got to try and sell a property and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And short of you being able to do that, then really you got to spend some time in actually understanding customer needs and, what are the unmet needs that no one in the market actually meets? What are the unsatisfied needs that no one's satisfying? And then what are the unidentified needs that literally no one has actually identified yet is actually a need of the customer? But when it becomes absolutely clear, the customer's like, yeah, no, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about this, it's really interesting because it's about reimagining customer experiences. And, we tend to add a lot more of all the things we're going to go and do when in fact maybe we should strip away because that's no longer of value.
Yes, it no longer serves us. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think technology plays a major part in this, particularly everyone's thinking, AI and this and all that type of stuff. It's meant to be the enabler to allow you to provide a better experience, right? So I think there's something in there to be able to remove the things that no longer serve you to make it a lot easier on yourself to be able to deliver that experience.
So there was a book on this called Jobs to be Done, and the foundational idea is about thinking about it the way that customers are. So there are people that are very much your customers. So they go, okay, great, we really love McGrath, we love Con, we're definitely all in with Con. Believe it or not, there's a group of people that are not, that they are your competitors' customers. And they're really passionate about that particular competitor, believe it or not. I know that's hard to believe, but they are. And then the next conversation is that then there's a group of people that are not yet customers.
Yeah.
So but yet they have a ton of bias that if ever I did do that, then that's probably who I would go to.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they said, okay, great. Imagine that you actually got 5 of your existing customers, 5 of your competitors' customers, and 5 people that are non-consumers, and you brought them into a room.
Yes.
And you asked them, hey, so, tell us a bit about What are some of the experiences you've had? What are some of the reasons why you chose to go with where you went with? Tell me a bit more about that. What are some of your bias about what you believe actually happens in this sector and doesn't? And then ultimately then go and see whether or not you could actually come and design some great experiences around that. And what they were always saying is that what a really good business does is that they look for the moments of friction.
Yes.
Now, recently, I was in a taxi in New Zealand and it was fun and it was great and the guy picked you up and dropped you off and all that was good. But it came to the point of doing payment and he's like, pulled out the iPhone and then he's had to start the app and he had trouble with it connecting. And then when it connected, then it's like NFC. So then I had to this weird rubbing up and down of the phone.
You are in New Zealand. I love you, New Zealand, for those listening.
And I was just and it just didn't connect.
It made it hard.
Then he wanted to touch the phones and then and then and it was just, and the glass was hitting
weird.
And I was like, don't do my lens. And I was like, and so
yes. Oh my God. I reckon you hang out in all these spots trying to find the friction. How did you find, mate, was this cab from 1994?
Mate, it wasn't. He had an iPhone. Bro.
He did.
But
he had a BlackBerry.
You have lost it. Okay, so the foundational idea is to think about what you've got to really do to make it really easy for customers is think, what do we do before, during, and post?
Yes.
So what a great agent does is that, and we've just been doing listing presentations in one of our trainings today, and the whole idea is that, okay, great, well, what do we do before? One of my clients said, okay, let's get really good at this about mapping the customer experience. So when we book in for the appointment with Con, and we say, Con, would it be okay if I send you a calendar invite?
Yeah.
Now, the benefit of that, it locks out the hour inside of the client's calendar, and we're now in that position, okay, we've got that. Now, the second thing is that I also then send Con an email of confirmation.
Yep.
Now, in that email of confirmation, it's really beautifully written, it's very short, it's very succinct, and what it actually has there is a quick link to a video for a minute or less that explains who you are, what you do, and how you help.
Perfect.
Now, outside of that, when you think about the best hotels or the best restaurants in the world, what does that confirmation email look like?
Yes.
That's what he wants his to look like.
Yes.
Then we said, okay, great. Hey, Con, by the way, once we get off the call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a short SMS with a quick link. You just got to click on that link, quickly fill it in. It'll take you literally 30 seconds or less, and it'll give us a bit of an idea about how we can go to help you. It'll be really important that you fill that out prior.
Yeah.
Now, he does that, and then ultimately that goes to a type form. And he said the amazing thing is that only 15% of people don't fill the form in. Of the 15% of people that don't fill the form in, no one wins. Of the 85% that do fill the form in, he wins 90% of those.
Yeah, right.
And so now he knows that if they're not prepared to put in the extra effort,
he's probably not going to get that business.
And so now he goes, so now I'm going to change the strategy. Of the 15% that don't fill it out, he goes, I make them fill it out when I'm there in front of them before I start the listing presentation.
And then what percentage of those actually?
We haven't done that bit. Okay. So then the next part is that then literally when we go to walk out of the listing presentation, what do we got to do?
Yes.
So this is about standardization of customer experience. So when we say standardization, minimal error, but maximum consistency on delivery. So what we do here is we go, okay, cool. What we're now going to do is that when you walk out of a listing presentation, you click on the form and you say, okay, great, I've just been to see Con and M. Okay. And now what's my next steps? So Are we dropping off chocolates? Are we showing them comparables? Are we getting at the front fence repainted? Whatever those things are, ... Is there anything else we need to know? Press submit. And that automatically lets your operations or customer experience or CSM, I think you call them, literally to then go and be able to do those things for you. So by the time you get back to the office, it's already actioned.
Yep.
And this is about speed of information. Now, what we actually think about is that, we've got to get really clear about what we actually go to do. And so when you come to defending fee, end of financial year, it's kind of a thing that we're talking to agents about how you go to grow fee. You've got to grow value. So the way that you grow value is you do more of the jobs for the customer. So, Con, we are going to do everything, not only sell the house, but also right down to the basics of even getting your mail redirected with Australia Post.
Yeah.
So it's it's a really extreme example of a really small little thing that we do, but it's really valuable to you. And by the way, I can also take a photo of that form and then update your forwarding details inside of the CRM. But the basic foundational idea is that it's really, really important about how that works. What you've got to start thinking about is the moments that actually happen inside of a process. Is this a happy moment? Is this a neutral moment? Is this a sad moment for the consumer? So if you think about that settlement day, do you think that's a happy day, a neutral moment, or a sad day? It should be a happy day. But if you turn up and we don't have the authorities yet to release the keys, it's a sad day. Yeah. And it's friction. And then my removalist is out the front and, you mean I can't move into the building because I've got to let Strata know. And so what you got to do is you got to try to iron out the inconsistencies to get that.
That's all about process though, right, Josh? That's all about having a system or a process, a checklist to be able to make sure that you can make it easy. Mm-hmm. So we can avoid all the potholes that we know are going to be there before they occur.
Yeah.
So why don't we do it?
Well, I think that it's a real lack of sitting down to document it. And there's a lot of assumptions that because you've worked in real estate that you must know that. And it's like, well, hang on a second. Like there's a reason why we do what we do. Yeah. And so, for a long time inside of the business, we actually would have it that when you'd come to a Josh Phegan event, you would have your name tag.
Yes.
And some people had a full stop after their name and some people didn't. And people were like, and people never really cottoned on to it. And people were like, well, why is that?
I know why you've told me this. Yeah.
Yep. Anyone that had a full stop after their name was someone was a Josh Phegan digital subscriber.
Yeah.
So we could tell straight away that there was a difference in that customer because of that level of detail.
Yeah.
So this is the foundational idea is that what you want to start doing is that to make it really easy for customers, how do you go to get this? And so this is where like things like reviews really matter, right? Yep. Because people look at reviews and, ChatGPT and Grok and Claude, when they go to do their deep research, they also look at those reviews to identify who the best agents are.
Yes.
And we just did this today in a conference where actually said, who's the best real estate agent to sell my house in this particular location? Can you do some deep research on that? And it was fascinating to see the data sources that it goes to.
So they are reviewing Google reviews and Rate My Agent, REA domain, all that sort of stuff.
And looking to see, and then it then tells you why you should use Con, and he would be good in this price range, but not in this price range based on his transactional volume.
There you go. So, new world.
So when you start to think about that, this is really important because if you're thinking about making it easy, now how do you go to sell that?
Yes.
So I was talking to a lady the other day that's got a piece of technology where they come in, they send a scanner through your property. They go 1, 2, 3. They've got like all of that. And then ultimately you say, okay, great. Now what? Okay, great. You can access 185 different types of trades and services that can actually then give you an instant quote.
Yeah, we use it. We use it.
And then flooring.
It's phenomenal.
And so when you start thinking about that, your whole conversation is to think that now, do I actually say that? So Con, I just want to let you know, here is a list of the things that we can do before. This is what we can also do during, and this is what we can also do for you post the transaction. So then you feel really confident to make it that we can make it super easy for you. It's not just about selling the house; it's about making this a really stress-free and pleasurable experience.
Do you know what I'm thinking, Josh? I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, to make it easy, you have to make it easy for yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to make it easy to be able to win that piece of business. So making it easy is actually taking the time to document all of those key moments, like the micro moments, the moments that matter, and then also making it easy is making it easy on your team, on the business to be able to support you to deliver that, right?
So you got systems. Like, can you imagine that you walk into a listing presentation and you wouldn't have an A4 document that said 3 reasons why Con?
Yeah, exactly. Or, mate, even have an agency agreement, right?
So that's a big one.
I know, but like that, the idea of making it easy is you have to make it easy for yourself to be able to do this.
Yeah, but you've got to identify. Don't keep adding extra. Strip that away and actually work out why that's an important thing.
Yeah.
And so this is even the basics of like, vendor funding, and it was amazing because my dad used to call this a really important and risk area of the business where you go, oh, Josh, we've got $100,000 out on VPA. Like, this is dangerous right now. We could go broke over this. And I was like, what? And then now what you learn is that literally there are companies that make money on that.
Correct.
Because they actually charge interest and things top. And so it's like saying, hey, Con, so there's 3 payment options. We've got electronic funds transfer, credit card, frequent flyer points, have a holiday, or we've also then got buy now, pay later.
Correct.
So this is actually learning that, making it easy is about thinking about customer situations where it's difficult, there's friction, there's embarrassment. Yeah. And instead making it really natural to say, hey, this is a really normal thing that you're about to go through.
Correct.
So if you're selling a property as a part of a deceased estate, well, I can actually record a copy of today's listing presentation so it can also go to the beneficiaries.
Yes.
So then they can hear about what we're talking about. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
And so if we're going to send a proposal off to a bank to go to sell a property as a part of maybe a mortgage or something, then why wouldn't we also record a very short video about what we'd like to do and how we'd like to handle the sales process?
Yeah.
So it's about being more dynamic for people to be more connected in a human way and using technology and systems to scale that.
And it's never been easier to do all of that, right? Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, one of the great conversations is like, thinking about what you're doing in quality over quantity. And it's like this whole idea is that like, when we're talking about buy matching right now, I hear a lot of agents like, oh, my CRM doesn't really match buys. I'm like, it's probably because you didn't update the data and there's a lot of ranges in that. But I'm like, okay, like one of the really basic ideas is that, okay, we've just listed White Street. What other campaigns have we done that are lookalike over the last 12 months where we'd have a similar buyer? Let's get on the phone and ring all of those. And let's actually also go and ring all of our 3-bedroom appraisals about the new 4-bedroom listing, because there's a fair chance that those 3-bedders want to upgrade into the 4. It is staggering to me about the number of people that don't do that and don't think about that. And it's just with the businesses before, and I said in the CRM that we've got, we can't search for appraisals based on bed, bath and car.
Really?
The system just doesn't allow it.
Wow.
And this is a national business.
Wow.
And you start to have a look at that and you're like, if they've just missed it, like literally about like the quality of the work that you do is the thing that absolutely determines commercial success.
Yeah.
Something that's changing your view.
Con, this is interesting about note-taking, and I'm seeing a lot of this in training sessions. Some people come with no note-taking device. Some people come with a pen and a booklet. Some people in a position that ultimately they bring an electronic device.
And type.
So, some people type. Some people in a position that just push a recorder and just let it record and
like
do
Plord or Otter or something, an app or something on their phone.
Yeah, to go and do that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I heard some people that went to a really big conference recently and they said, oh, it was amazing. They gave us a notebook, but there was no pen in the bag.
That's absolutely true. I was there at that big conference with you.
And I was just like, oh, wow. So it's actually kind of interesting. Why is note-taking important? How is it useful? What does it allow you to do?
I think for me, like, I love taking notes and I've tried the digital, I've tried the, the AI kind of listening to everything. For me personally, writing it on a piece of paper is where it seeps in the best. But I think it's critically important to be able to capture all those moments and the data points that you might not remember. So you think about the attentiveness if you're sitting in front of a client and you say, look, with your permission, do you mind if I take a few notes?
Sure.
Instantly, you're elevated in terms of your professionalism, and then they know that you're actually listening to hear and you're focused on delivering a quality outcome.
It's empathy, it's rapport.
Correct.
The other conversation for me is it's creativity, because I'll be listening to someone, they'll say something, I'll write down a word that might spiral off 2 or 3 ideas that come from that. Sometimes I write down, and when I learnt note-taking in the bottom right-hand corner, I actually write down like actionable items. So here's some cool stuff. Oh, but that's actually actionable. You know, so buy that book, get that link, go to that podcast, see that thing. But then I've actually got like a really good way of actually going to take notes. But I think we're going into a very dangerous situation where people are just like, oh, the AI knows everything. Well, guess what? The AI is also going to do your job.
Yeah, but the other thing is too, though, Josh, is that how many people are actually reviewing that? So when AI sat there, because essentially what we're saying is, let me take my mobile phone out, press a button, and then I can tune off.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So do you know how I read a book? With the highlighter.
With your eyes?
Yeah, that's true. With the highlighter.
Yeah, same with me.
It got a bit awkward when I was reading it on an iPad. No, but that's...
I'm exactly the same. I got that. Yeah, I did get that, mate. I just think it was a bad gag. But I get it. I do the same thing.
Yes.
So then you can flick through and you can find those parts.
But you haven't listened to this bit. So I highlight the best bits.
Yeah.
And then once I've read the book, I then go and write them all out. I type them all out.
Oh, okay.
And then once I've done that, then I copy and paste them, put it into Slack for my whole team to read.
Wow.
But now I've actually seen that same piece of information 3 times.
Yeah, so it's now in your, the retention.
The knowledge. And this is about the retention society, not that I took notes. And it's like you're focusing on the wrong thing, because what you've got to do is it's about connectivity of those ideas and the creativity that comes around that.